Your brand is why your agents are coming to you. And the work that you do with your brand is establishing yourself as one of the leaders in your community. So whatever brand you're with, you have to believe in it. You have to use it. If you're not using your brand to back you up, why are you there?
Everybody, Ryan Hodge here, and this is the Rise Up podcast, where each and every week we interview amazing people, both inside and outside of the real estate industry, that are here to support you and provide contribution and abundance on all things real estate productivity, mindset, and those that are rising up in whatever they do. And I am blessed and fortunate to have my good friend, Asif Khan, broker owner at Remax Prime Properties in the Greater Toronto Area, and an amazing friend that I've had, a number of years, well over a decade of experience with, watching him grow, creating amazing relationships, certainly working within the Remax network at the highest of levels. And Asif, it's an honor that you're here today.
Always a pleasure, Ryan. And likewise, I mean, it's been great to see you grow and see what you've done with the realty firm and in the industry. So, thank you for having me.
Well, I mean, we go back. We started, humble beginnings, getting things going in real estate and working by referral, and certainly appreciate the amazing, network of Remax and, a lot of those relationships that I maintain today. And so, tell us a little bit about what's going on inside of your marketplace right now. I mean, you're in the largest real estate board in the world, 55,000 plus agents, I think I just saw.
Yeah, I think we're at pushing 60,000 right now.
Wow, man, wow.
And it's been, it's been a great run for Toronto real estate, not only over the last couple of years, but going back, 10, 15 years. I mean, I've been hearing the story about the market bubble about to burst or the market about to crash for, 15, 16 years now. And the reality is Toronto is a world-class city. And when you compare Toronto to the other world-class cities, there's still a lot of room to grow in terms of square foot, in terms of, how many people immigrate here every year. There's so much upside to Toronto. So there's not really any catalyst for this bubble to burst or even for a market crash. So it's been really interesting to hear the reports with the analysts, the economists, and then they always backtrack, and, it never happens.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think that I recognize, what's happened in my market. I mean, we're 90 minutes away from Toronto. And ultimately, we've just finally experienced this massive increase, not even close. Our average sale price is about 650 right now, 650,000. But everybody says, what's happening? We've got all these out of town agents, coming from the GTA, Brampton, Mississauga, all over. Pricing's increasing. When's it going to bust? And I look at it, and maybe, you can share your insight, but if you're to look at New York City on the whole, from one side of it to another, ultimately Toronto to, London, 90 minutes away, is very similar. And I think that we're actually just kind of gradually getting absorbed here, which was bound to happen.
Yeah, I mean, look at, with New York, you've got people living even in New Jersey, and their transit system is so well put together. You can commute from New Jersey to New York every day. And we're starting to find that here. Now, look at the other part of it. Now people are able to work from home.
Yep.
So there's Toronto people moving out to London, to Windsor, to Chatham, because they can work from home and still be within a couple of hours, 3-4 hours, if they had to go into the office one day a week or, once every couple of weeks. And you've started to see that shift. Our price has gone up about 30% or so in Toronto, but it's not a true 30% price increase. And when we look at these reports, everyone says, oh my God, it's becoming unaffordable. But think about the shift in the mix. We used to sell a lot of condos here, and now those condo owners have shifted to detached homes with more property, or semi-detached homes, duplexes, triplexes. The dollar value, the average dollar value, is a lot higher on those properties than it was on condos. So when you have a shift in the mix, and say you're selling 25% less condos, but 25% more of these detached homes on larger lots, that's automatically going to drive the price up. So the interesting comparison would be, what is the price increase when you compare like products, so detached to detached. And it's not as significant as the 30% increase. It might be 10 or 12%. And that's just because of the sheer demand. So it's not as bad as people make it seem to be when you consider the shift in the mix.
You know, when I really think on the GTA and the Toronto Real Estate Board, those that I've met that have had success, I find that in such a high state of competition. I mean, 60,000 agents, we've got 2,000 here. Differentiating from our competition is a lot easier to do here, I believe. But what I've always noticed about a really good realtor or broker owner in these large world-class cities like you mentioned, you guys know your inventory and stats and the market so exceptionally well compared to smaller markets where we know what to do, we know to go in, but you guys have it dialed in that way.
Yeah, I think being from the GTA and there are things changing so rapidly. There's up and coming markets. There's markets that need to be rejuvenated. I think you have to know the demographics, the stats.
Yeah.
Looking at the inventory. I mean, we have less than 2 months of inventory in most of the markets here.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably some of the lowest inventory numbers I've seen in my entire career. And when you have that, you know that it's not going to change overnight. There has to be, our big thing is supply. There's a lot of talk about realtors are driving up prices and multiple offers and not handling bidding properly. And we've heard all of that in the news. But the reality is the only reason this is happening is it's not realtors. Like if we could magically increase someone's price 30%, we'd be able to charge 20% commission. It's it's sheer supply and demand. And when you don't have supply, you're going to have so many more eyeballs on your property, so many more people wanting to purchase your property because there's no competition. You don't have any competition as a seller. And that is what needs to be addressed in the Toronto area. And that's what we've been pushing for. And it's until we have, when the government comes in and starts implementing taxes that aren't going to mean anything, like a vacancy tax. It's not going to mean anything. But the public perception is the government's doing something. The government's not doing anything. The government has to step in and help us with supply. And that's what's going to make home ownership affordable for the consumer. There's nothing else.
When you look at the dynamic of TREB, we're part of the Ontario collective here, where TREB is not, and I believe there's been some resistance to joining in. Any insight on that for somebody that's in the area, and maybe you can shed a little bit of your opinion or perspective?
It's mind-boggling as to why the largest board in Ontario is not part of the collective. My brokerage also belongs to the Mississauga board to allow us access to Matrix and allow us access to other properties. And I don't understand, having our licenses for Ontario, why everyone can't be together and have a board or a system that allows us to access all of Ontario. We may as well only be licensed for Toronto if that's the case, because out of the 60,000, how many have access to Matrix? Not a lot. And the reason we brought in a board that would help us support the Matrix system, a lot of our agents would get questions, and you can't just hyper focus on certain statistics of one area and extrapolate those and say this is what's happening in Ontario. You have to know stats in all the different areas for you to be, educated well enough to advise your clients on what they can and can't do. And now with the move over buyers, so people moving within Ontario, you have to know the numbers, and you have to know what they're going to be taking out of their home in Toronto and be able to purchase what they can purchase, how much they can afford, what they'll have saved in other areas in Ontario. And that the only way you can do that is knowing your numbers and knowing your stats and having access to that.
For sure. It is that expertise and being that consultant, taking that approach that I think is really helping people differentiate. You've always done things to differentiate for certain. I've always appreciated, your creative marketing, which I see is continuing on the brokerage level. So many people would be, I guess, hesitant to put themselves out there in, that really creative, fun, sometimes a little bit edgy type, video. What has it done for you in terms of differentiation, your business? I think people would certainly appreciate hearing more about, the method behind the madness.
I think it's just having fun and loving what you do. And I hope that comes out because I really do love what I do. I'm passionate about it. And that's who I am. So what you see is what you get. And there's a lot of people that will say, well, this is who I am at home. This is who I am at work. And at work, I have to wear a suit and I have to do this and I have to say this and I can't speak like this. Just be yourself because that's who your clients want. They want to deal with you. They don't want to deal with a watered down version or a stuck up version. Just have some fun. And hopefully that, the fun that I have reflects on my agents at the brokerage because, like attract like, and our group at the brokerage is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I can tell you how much fun it is, how, what an honor it is to lead them and be there for them. So we really hard. We have some amazing agents. And at the same time, we have a lot of fun together. And, being out there, having some fun, keeping things loose, especially during the stressful times over the last couple of years, it's been amazing. Just the camaraderie, even though we're not together in the office in person as much as, we would like to be, it's still a very loose group. And coming up with these ideas, sometimes they're crazy. Our video guy is absolutely phenomenal. And he gets us out of our shell and takes our crazy ideas and packages them together. So it makes us look a lot better, but you just gotta have fun.
When you look at, the fun that you've had in sales, what led you to, opening up your own real estate company?
It's opening up your own real estate company is something that, as we're building teams and as we're growing our businesses, you want to be able to bring in tools or technologies that would benefit, more people than just yourself. And, creating these systems, creating these, bringing in tools that would help people almost make their lives easier.
There we go.
Make their life easier is where you want to be. And that is, I think, the premise behind opening the brokerage was being able to bring in systems and make the agent's life a little bit easier. I mean, my brokerage is built from an agent's perspective.
Yeah.
So it's different than from a brokerage perspective where, you're in it for profitability and things like that. Mine was, let's show the agents how they can grow their business, how they can step it up, take it to the next level. And that's what we've been doing. And it's been a lot of fun.
Sure. At
the same time, it's been really neat seeing the transformation of some agents and how they've grown. I came from a Japanese company before. So the Kaizen principle of continuous improvement is what drives our brokerage. Yeah. And that's been something that, we rely on every year is let's try to be a little bit better than we were last year. And that's it.
I find that we share the same principles in that, get the agents growing, both in business and their quality of life inside of it, which is very rarely talked about in this industry. The one thing that I'll say that, I know about you is you live, eat, sleep, breathe, and bleed RE/MAX as far as, largest real estate brand in the world. You have been such but
I'll go with RE/MAX.
Hockey too. We'll talk about that in a second. But such a great promoter, a great person inside of the network, which I have a tremendous amount of respect for, as you know. Do you really promote that with your members as well to really get behind the brand, let the brand get behind you? Are they buying into it? Because I know that there's some disruption in the industry that we can talk to responsibly. But take me inside of what that's done for you and for your members.
I came from the franchising industry. I'm a big believer in brand, and to whatever brand you're with, you have to be passionate about it.
Totally.
And you have to believe in it. If you don't believe in your brand, why are you there? You're paying to be a part of this brand, and you have to believe in their values. You have to believe in the systems. And you have to believe in the the power that that brand allows you in the marketplace.
Mhm.
If you're not in 100% on any of those three, then it's not the right fit for you.
Yep.
And I know Remax is the right fit for me. I was looking for a brand that would, you know, back me up and get me through the door on a lot of these. And it doesn't matter. The realty
Mhm.
firm.
Mhm.
Your brand is why your agents are coming to you. And the work that you do with your brand is establishing yourself as one of the leaders in your community. So whatever brand you're with, you have to believe in it. You have to use it. If you're not using your brand to back you up, why are you there? And that I think is something I learned in the franchising industry, is that there's so many different brands out there, and then there's brands that people associate with. They offer you that market dynamic where, you know, people know who you are before they meet you. And I think that's a key in backing your brand, and you get as much as you put in
Mhm.
to
For
any
sure.
brand is exactly that. So I'm a big believer in the brand that I'm with. I think Remax offers me a lot of what I want in my career, in my brokerage, and also to be able to offer my agents. And that's why I'm here. And I love the chirping with some of the other brands and some of the other brokerages, because it shows that they're passionate about their brand. And you know, it's not that we're attacking each other. It's a lot of fun. It's two competing hockey teams going against each other, and when you're part of that team, you're wearing that crest on your chest, and that's who you're representing. So you're gonna fight hard for that.
Well, and I think it's healthy competition. I certainly appreciate that as well. You know, we're competitive by spirit. I think that's the sports dynamic that comes from all of us. You know, what's your take on the way that the industry is moving? We've got, you know, a lot of big, you know, companies that are, I guess, transitioning, teams, transitions into, you know, some of the cloud-based models. I see people that are moving away from that as well. Where do you see the industry going in that regard? Do you think that, you know, my personal perspective is that people want a place to call home? You know, bricks mortar will be important as far as that collectivity, even though we're able to work a little bit differently.
And you know, like I just said, like there's a different model for everyone. The problem with us is we see so many shiny new objects and want to jump on those right away. You know, does it really fit what you want to offer? Sounds great, everything like that. But what you need to really look at is where you want to be in 5 years or 10 years, and see if that model fits. There's so many people that move to different models, and then they end up moving back because that's home. And we have a great success story from, you know, one of our agents that saw a great opportunity, or thought was a great opportunity, moved over to a different brand, was a top producer at that brand, top 5 in the country, and just he was missing something. And he moved back, and he has done, in the first quarter, he has done twice as many sales as he did at his other brand. So he's on pace to absolutely crush the results he had at the other brand that he went to. And that's because of, you know, familiarity with the brand, consumers associating with the larger brand, and him being happy. And that's something that you can't discount. And if you know, again, going back to whichever brand you're with, you've got to be passionate about it, and you've got to work for them as they work for you.
Totally.
With all of these other brands coming up or companies coming up, you know, in a hot market, it's really easy for another company to come up and be competitive. Where you have the test is when the market starts to shift.
For sure.
And that's where it separates the contenders from the pretenders. And you know, that's something that you have to keep in mind. And the other thing is, this is a business where you shouldn't move around a lot. I've spoken to agents in the last couple of months that will say, you know, this is my I'm just looking for the right fit. This is going to be my 4th brokerage this year. And I sit back and think, you're not even giving yourself time to establish yourself at one brand. And that's not who we want at our brokerage. We want people that commit to success, not just want to dabble in it and have fun or things like that. Like, I mean, you have to commit to the direction that you're going in, and give it a chance to help you succeed.
For sure. I think, years later, and we're heading for, I guess, 8 years this fall. But years later, I've seen agents that have come into the company that, they left, and then I watched them bounce around 4 or 5 times, literally. And there is no way that I would welcome them back, because I just know that they will not commit. Maybe at some point they have an epiphany and they decide, hey, I'm going to go all in real estate. But, the brokerage blaming is, pretty consistent when you see that their results aren't getting them to where they want to go. And so, what would you say that, the real value add for you is? Because I find that, I've had many a client that are RE/MAX broker owners that I've worked with. And, those that really utilize the tools have phenomenal success. The agents that use the tools, and the brand and the network, which to me is still by far the greatest real estate network in the world. When they utilize these tools, they have phenomenal success. But then I find, some broker owners, and I challenge their leadership on it, they don't even really know what the tools are. And it doesn't necessarily just mean with RE/MAX or wherever. It could be any brand, it could be an independent. But if they don't have, the proper tools and resources and knowledge, and they're putting it, in front of their agents, they're going to get left in the dust. Speak to the leadership side of it, because I know that you were recently awarded with a pretty prestigious, leadership inside of the RE/MAX network.
Thank you. You got to believe in the tools, right? You have to use them. What's my value add? I'm working in the market with them. I love the sales aspect of it. And you'll get the argument that, oh, you're a competing broker. I don't compete with any of my agents. They all have their own sales, and we make sure that we're very transparent and not taking leads from the office, things like that. But being able to help my family and friends purchase, or my repeat clients purchase and sell their homes, it keeps me active in the marketplace so that I have a finger on the pulse. And when you have that, you can help, gain more traction for your agents, because I'm able to say, hey, you know what? I lost out on a multiple offer last night and this is what happened. Or I won out on a multiple offer last night and this is how I did it. Because and I'm not giving them stories like, well, 17 years ago, I was in a multiple offer situation and we had 3 people and I had to bid $3,000 higher. Like, that's not relevant anymore. So you want someone who's leading that's actually, and it doesn't have to be a broker owner. Some broker owners will say, well, I'm not going to go out and sell, but maybe it's a man, maybe it's someone else that's a mentor at that brokerage that can help our agents with that, or your agents with that. That's going to be, you sell too. And I know you love the sales aspect of it in your blood. And that, if that's what you're passionate about, you got to do it. And the agents do respect that you have the market knowledge, which is current, and that gives them an ability to rely on you for transactions that you're doing. And I think that is probably what the competitive advantage is that I'm in the market helping them using the same tools. Every agent in our office has the exact same tools as I use for my team or for myself. So it's not like I have a special tool for my team or a special website or anything like that. All of our systems are open to everyone to use. And that way I'm able to help them and coach them on them and the proper way to use them and how to get more business from it.
Yeah, we reference it as being in the trenches, right? We're in the trenches with our members. And ultimately for us, with some of the different projects that I take on, I kind of stepped away from sales for a while, just wasn't really as committed to it. What I found though was that when COVID hit, we had a number of agents that were down, and the company at one point was down 40%. We ended up, actually, exceeding, the year before. So we came out strong. But for me, it was, I want to test this, because at one point, I could sell at a pretty high level, and I want to see what's working, what's not, because it's only going to benefit the members. Just like you, I don't compete, I don't take leads. I don't do any of that stuff that come into the office. But there's an ability to walk that talk in terms of, showing people how to actively sell. And I think that right now, what has been, I would say, a little bit frustrating for myself, and I would think that you'd probably see a lot of this too. There's a lot of theorists out there in the training space, those that have not sold real estate or have not done it at a level, that would, I guess, allow somebody to lead. I believe that, the network that I want to keep, they've done bigger and better things than I have, and I want to learn from them. The people that, I hire as, coaches or mentors, I want them to have, done it. And I think that that's important. I know that some will say, no, it doesn't matter if they've got the skill set. Great. I want the lead by example type of person, as my leader. And I think that that's where you provide such a great benefit to your folks as well.
And I think, being part of many different coaching companies and having many different coaches, if the coach hasn't done what you've done or performed at the level that you want to perform at, what makes them different than you as to the ideas they're going to bring to the table?
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, is a huge issue. Is if you want to get to $1 million, you need to have someone that's been there to show you how.
Yeah.
It's no different than a hockey team bringing in people that have won the Stanley Cup to teach the rest of them what it takes to get to that level.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of people talking about it and have great ideas and fantastic motivational talks and speeches, but have they done it?
Totally.
And if they haven't, you really have to question, well, why haven't they? If they have all of these great ideas and everything, why have they only performed at a subpar level than where you're at? And if they have, then you can learn from them. And that's what I've always, tried to bring to the table, is to say, this is what I've used. This is what's worked. This is what I've used. This hasn't worked. So don't waste your time. Because again, getting back to the shiny object thing, how many sales calls do we get in a day or even in a week? You've got website people calling you, Google Ad Space people calling you,
Sure.
You've got coaches calling you. We are the easiest to get sold.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that's part of the problem, is we always look for that easy way out, the shiny object, and we jump on it. But if you can have someone that says, hey, I've tried that, don't do it, it's a waste of $30,000. Now you have a base to build your foundation with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When you look at, I guess one of the things that I'm challenged with right now, I try and keep my opinion to myself. I think that, some of the recruiting models that are out there, I'm challenged with, because a lot of the people that are recruiting have not sold a lot of real estate. And that to me is not good for the industry. I think that, it's, hey, if you want to have a recruiting or a downline or a different system, be a leader, get some sales experience under your belt before you start pushing that. Your perspective?
I agree. When you're trying to, again, goes back to experience. When you're trying to recruit, you have to rely on your experience to get that. And if you're recruiting and telling people, hey, you don't have to sell anymore, you're gonna have a downline, what's the motivation for that person to come in and sell? And you're depending on that person to sell, but telling them that the reason you left was because you don't have to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So, look at the production per agent at a lot of these brokerages.
Mm-hmm.
And that will tell you who you're going to be part of.
Sure.
I mean, for me, the big thing was, looking at all the other models, the big thing was, who am I associating myself with? And do I want to go there? And if you want to associate with yourself with people that are selling 3 or 4 houses a year versus 16 or 20, where are you going to learn more?
Mm-hmm.
You might be the biggest fish in the pond in a space where you're selling 3 or 4 homes a year. But in order for personal growth to occur, you need to expand your mindset. You need to grow yourself. And that's you're going to get with places which are selling 16, 20, 30 houses on average per agent. And that's where you should want to be. Even if you're a new agent, that's where you should want to be, to rely on the experience so that you can gain some knowledge and grow yourself.
Well, and I find it's an interesting dynamic. I mean, one of my clients, she's within the top 15, I believe, on Treb right now, her team. She's, EXP, she's growing, in a really, really positive way. But, she is a true leader. She has, the systems, tools, processes. She has the leads, and she invests in her team members at the highest level that I've ever seen, anybody that I've ever worked with. she invests. I mean, at one point she had me coaching, all of her agents individually, and I'm not cheap on a one-on-one basis. And so when I see that, I go, you know what? If that's the model, I would 100% buy in if I was looking for, a brokerage to grow to, because she's the leader. It's the same thing with you. If I was looking at, multiple different, Remaxes, in the GTA, I'd sign up with Asif because I know the leadership and the investment that you make. And so I think right now that's a crucial differentiation, because we have lots of availability, and I see it all the time in some of the licensing, groups. Where should I join? Everyone's talking about fees or, the stuff that doesn't really matter. It's about who's the leader, what's the leadership team like, and what are they going to provide as far as personal and professional growth.
I agree. I think that's a big thing to look at. And, the great thing about our brokerage is, we have 31 agents, we have 31 leaders.
Yeah, totally.
And every one of them, my goal as broker owner is to create more leaders and have that in the brokerage so that everyone can rely on each other, because everyone brings a different strength. And right, if I can rely on you to talk about lead gen, if I can rely on someone else to talk about pre-construction condos, it's our collective strength that's going to help us grow. So I don't think I know everything. I don't want to know everything. There's certain aspects of the business where I won't even touch because it's not my expertise, but I know I have the right people on the team to be able to bring that. And I think that is a huge aspect of it. Going into these models, which are, we'll call them low fee, minimal service, doesn't grow. You want support. The best thing about this business is that we're on our own. The worst thing about this business is that
for sure.
And to rely on a little chat group online to be able to learn, it's not where you're going to get it. I mean, we're part of so many different real estate groups. Could you actually build your business off being on one of these groups? And when you don't have that solid training program or mentorship program or internship program at a brokerage, and you're relying on, going on a chat room and asking questions, you're going to get different answers. You're probably going to get 5 or 6 different answers to your question. Well, what's the right answer? And, the right answer is different for everybody. Being able to, have the experience or the knowledge to select that answer for where you are in your career, that's where, leadership comes in. And that's what we want to provide. We want to be that bridge between all of that information and where you need to go. And I think that is a big difference in a full service brokerage compared to a low service brokerage.
Sure, I agree. We're all about leadership, training, culture. Fees come last. Somebody's always going to be less. If somebody's joining because of the fees, for us, it's an immediate no. It just is. You talked about, being yourself earlier and showing up as yourself, both in business and life. What I know about you is that phenomenal dad, and certainly a hockey dad, which, same here, and what a high level of commitment. Maybe you can give some insight on, how to make it all work, because I know that this business can chew us up and spit us out in terms of time. Maybe some of your insight on how you make it work, how you get to those rinks, how you get the kids to the rinks and still be highly productive in sales and as a leader.
Time blocking. I mean, we're all challenged for time. Yeah. So not that I have a perfect system down. We all wish we had more time to do things that we want to do, things that we love. And a lot of times it's a sacrifice, and you're giving up something to make everything else work. I mean, the kids' school and hockey, that's an untouchable. I mean, this is what they love to do, and that's my responsibility to get them to the rink on time, to coach the teams, to, give back to their hockey community, because that's what they're passionate about. Being able to time block and have time available for agents when they're doing their offers or when they have questions, that has to be part of a leadership schedule as well. Making sure that you're doing your coaching calls, making sure that doing your training, keeping up with what's happening in the marketplace, that you have to just schedule it. And, I always say, if it's not in my phone, it's probably not going to happen if it's not in my phone. And that's where you want to actually look at everything that you're doing and prioritize it and say, this is what I want to do first, this is what I want to do second. And I'm a big believer that all of the paperwork and everything has to be done in the mornings.
Mhm.
If I don't get to it in the mornings, then I'm not going to do it. So
Sure.
in the morning between say 9:30 and 11:30, I won't take calls. I won't, schedule appointments or anything like that, because that's my time to do my work.
Right.
And in the afternoons, there's always going to be questions that come up. Your schedule's going to have to be flexible. And then in the evenings, it's hockey.
Mhm.
We're at the rinks right now with COVID, get a bit of a break and
Yeah.
able to work a little bit more, but that's where I need to be for the kids. So.
And so, speaking of hockey, you've got a big series coming up with the Leafs. I'm sure that you are all for that. Do you get pumped up like that, just like you do real estate, or is it truly,
Oh yeah.
the Leafs are the be all and end all for you?
You know what? We've been waiting for a long time, since '93, to have a team that had as much promise as the Toronto Maple Leafs do this week. I think they have a great mix. They brought in a lot of leadership, which every young team needs. And, relating back to what we were just talking about,
Hmm.
you got to look at what the leadership level is like at your brokerage before you jump in there. And just because your friends are there doesn't mean it's the right fit.
Sure.
Bringing in some experienced veterans that have, been through a lot of the wars and survived. That's who you want on your team. And I think the Leafs have a lot of promise this year. I would pick them in 5 periods, but it might be 5 games. But I think they're a strong team when they want to be. But it comes down to anything, right? It comes down to who wants it more, and heart, courage, and what you want to do to succeed.
That
And
trumps skill every time.
exactly.
I take it every time, for sure.
On paper, you could be the best realtor or the best hockey player,
Yeah.
but if someone wants it better than you do, then they're going to win. And you need to be ready for that. And you need to accept that if you don't bring it every day, you're not going to succeed.
So what do you do for, motivation, inspiration? No, you're a pretty productive guy. What do you seek out to, keep yourself charged, keep yourself up? I mean, it hasn't been easy with COVID, as well, but what is it that you do to, I guess, fuel your own fire and your momentum?
I think it's just being around like-minded individuals. I mean, the group that we started for Reboot,
Sure.
we've got some phenomenal personalities on that group.
Yeah.
And being around there, being able to recharge, being able to throw ideas out and challenge each other, I think that's been great. I mean, I know we haven't connected on that group for a while, and we should probably have a follow-up coming up, but I mean, look at who we have on there. Cliff Stevenson, Kevin Stewart. We've got some incredible people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, Faisal brings a lot. Ravi brings a lot. Mel. I think having like-minded people that can just feed your fire and keep you going and bring that passion back around when you're about to lose it, I think that makes for a great recharge. And that's where I miss the in-person events for Remax and
For
coaching.
sure.
Because that's where we're lacking right now. And as fun as Zoom has been at the beginning of COVID, everyone's kind of over it now.
Yeah. I think that people are, those that talk to the convenience of working from home, I understand that, but I do believe that people are craving that face-to-face interaction more than ever. And I think that lends well. I mean, I was at a 2-day conference a couple of weeks ago, and the speaker, basically said that we are literally 1 to 2 acquisitions away from our business being flipped on our head, as far as, an all-in-one online format to, I guess, buy and sell real estate. And he made a lot of sense, because what he talked to was that, we've always had the disruptions, we've always been told, this is coming down the pipeline, and it literally hasn't necessarily come the way that it can. And once it's branded under one umbrella, and that's where the acquisition, talk comes in. But if you have those relationships, that face-to-face connectivity, I don't think that, you will ever have your business really negatively impacted if you continue to surround yourself with clients too, and really, serve and support others at that deep human to human level, not just online, not just Zoom, not just, via tech.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the thing that should scare people the most is being average.
Mhm.
And you always want to go out and perform and be the best person you can be.
Totally.
Don't look at the industry average or the average in your marketplace or anything like that. That's not what you want to aim for.
Hmm. No, it's just that law of averages. That's why, surrounding yourselves with leaders and like-minded people is crucial. So I am super blessed to have gotten to spend that time with you today, my man.
Great, yeah.
Where can people reach out to you in the GTA if they want to find out more about who you are and what you do?
Hey, they can always call me at 416-985-5426, or it's Asif at remaxprimeproperties.ca.
Okay, Remax Prime Properties. Everybody, what a blessing to have Asif on today. Do reach out to him if you're in the Greater Toronto area. He will lend exceptional knowledge and insight and support you in building a real estate career beyond your wildest dreams, along with the quality of life inside of it. Stay tuned for more guests on, this new project of mine, which is the Rise Up podcast. Looking to continually support and contribute on a high level inside of the real estate industry and out with some epic people that will bring value to your life. So thanks so much, Asif, and we'll talk real soon.
We'll talk soon. Thank you very much.